Hi, everybody. And there isn't everybody. I'm really pleased. I thought there might be nobody. My name's Julia Hawthorne, and my company is called Dalit Goods Company. And it's unusual in that it's the trading arm of my charity, which is called Life Association. Now, I was asked to come to talk to you about my import-export strategy, and that floored me. I've never had a strategy in my life, so I don't really know. You'll probably identify some strategic moves from what I tell you, but in terms of encouraging you to import or export, that's not entirely my brief. But my brief now is to share with you a bit of a story, a bit of a tale as to how my husband and I ended up running the company that we now know as Dalit Goods Company. So it's a tale of two halves. It's a tale of Dalit Goods Company, and it's a tale of Life Association. And by the time I get to the end, which won't be very long, don't worry, please ask me questions, because I'm hoping that something that I say will promote or stimulate a question, even if it's, how did you cope? What should we do next? I'm hoping this will be a much more personal time together than perhaps the normal talks that go on here. I don't know. How challenged was I yesterday when I came to find out where I'd be talking, when I saw it was an open venue? I was just like, no, I thought I'd be in a little room where nobody would see me, but no, here I am. Anyway, let's get on with it. I'm sorry that the images, which are beautiful images, believe me, aren't as clear as I'd like them to be, because it's through the image that partly we tell our story. So I don't know, can you see over at that side? So this is who we are, Dalit Goods Company. Across the bottom of the screen are just some of our products. And I will be unashamedly promoting my stand and my products because I'm passionate about them, and because I want to sell them, and because I want to promote the word Dalit, which I will go on to explain in a few moments. So we design, we produce, we import from Mumbai predominantly. And we go straight to the producers. We don't use agents. We don't use agents to sell our product. We don't use agents to source our producers. We go straight to the producers, and that has become very important to us as we build a relationship with the producers, because I don't know what your backgrounds are, but I know that business is a lot to do with relationships. I build relationships with my customers, and I build relationships with my suppliers. Just as a matter of interest, sorry. We use, do you mind if I have a bit of a Q&A at the end? Because I'll definitely lose my train of thought, and then we'll be here for hours. But please hang on to that question, and I will tell you. It's actually a little bit part of the story anyway. So, as I say, we go to Mumbai for our product, and we take our designs into the Dharavi slum in Mumbai. I don't know whether any of you are aware of Dharavi, but it's an absolutely wonderful and challenging place to be. It's a square mile, and there are 1 million people living within Dharavi. Dharavi is made up of several pockets of traders and craftspeople. I've only ever known the potters, so we go to the potter village within the slum of Dharavi. And when I use the word slum, it doesn't sound respectful, and perhaps I should use a different term, because actually these people live in a way that I think we could learn an awful lot from. They live in community. They don't rob off each other, contrary to the sort of impression that the television would give you, and they respect one another. And they're very hospitable towards us. So we go to the potter village, and we take our designs, and they make the product for us. Just move on to another product shot, if I can. There. This is what we started our business with. And when we began, we had a young man, back to your question, we had a young man, we began this business on a shoestring, and we had a young guy who loved what we were doing in India because we'd been running children's homes and schools out there for some time. We couldn't afford to pay this guy. This was about 8 years ago. We couldn't afford to pay him, so he came and lived with us for a year. And that's how we began our business, on a shoestring, slowly but surely. But our designer was a graduate from Central St Martin's University, and he was a young man. He's now 29, so he was just in his early 20s when he came to live with us. And our inspiration came for the product from a cup that the Dalit people in India traditionally are forced to drink from. But Stephen moved with my husband Simon and himself with the inspiration for the product, and this core range was launched. Still, I apologise for the picture, but you can come and see the real product on my stand, though, so that's you don't have to miss out completely. This is one of our producers, but we are fair trade. And we go straight, as I said, to the potters, and this is how they work in Dharavi. And rather than being considered as lowly people as they are in India, you know, they're craftspeople, they're creators, they're artisans. So I said that we're a tale of two halves, and I did mention that we run the charity in India. And I just wanted to show you some pictures that I've taken of some of our projects in India. Because I think when you're in business, and I don't know who I'm talking to, I could be talking to a lot of people that would teach me an awful lot more about what I'm going to talk to you about than I already know. But I'm here and you're there, so I'm just going to tell you what I know and share it with you. Gannavaram is where we have one of our children's homes. So we were driven by need, really, when my husband went out to India about 20 years ago, and he saw the plight of the poorest of the poor. And a long story short, we started building children's homes and schools. So these are just some of the images. That's my nephew at the front there. He works with us at the moment. He's just winding the children up into a frenzy, basically. Oh, blank one. And those are some children who previously would have been living on the railways and on the streets of Mumbai, but now live with us in one of our projects in Mumbai. So, how did we get to be a business? We've had 30 years in business, my husband and I, but Dalit Goods arose as a result of a series of fairly disastrous events. I think we all know that you can never be entirely in control of your own destiny, and sometimes stuff happens and you have to make the most out of it. And we began, as I say, 6 years ago, and prior to that we'd been running a multi-million-pound fashion business. Fashion industry is very fickle, but we'd been doing really, really well, and it was at that time when my husband had first gone out to India, and we started our projects out there. But the business had been doing really well. We're employing quite a lot of people. We were importing from China. We weren't importing or doing business with India at that point. And we were flying. Like every entrepreneur says, we were that far away from success. Everybody will say that to you. And what went wrong? Well, what went wrong was that we overstretched ourselves. We overstretched our resources, ourselves. And remember that you are probably your most important resource. And how many people do you hear who have a breakdown and they become useless within their business because of the stress and the pressure of working too hard? So protect yourselves, you know. But we overstretched ourselves financially. And the bank, who was very pleased to lend us money when we were flying, suddenly didn't really want to answer the phone to us. When we needed more funding to develop and to finally launch a product that we'd been working on for some years. It was a brilliant product. It was a design tool, and it was really going to work. So everybody told us. We'd done a round of fundraising on the city, and we'd got new investment, but we needed more. And we were just about to embark, or had begun to embark, on another round of looking for investors. And Northern Rock crashed. Some of you might be too young to remember Northern Rock crashing, or it might not have been relevant, but I certainly remember it, because that day was the day when potential investors stopped answering the phone to us. And we pushed ourselves to our limit. we'd cashed in all our money. We'd no more savings left. Our home, which I would never do again, had been security against the bank loan. And don't do it. It's not worth it. The bank will give you anything as long as you've got a house that's worth a little bit more. But they will call it in as well when it goes wrong. And it did. So we closed the door. In about 2007, we closed the door of our business. We made 30 people who were friends redundant, and we sold our house. And this isn't a pity party. I'm just telling you my story, because out of bad stuff, good stuff happens, believe me. But it was about more than just the end of the business. That had closed, and we didn't know what we were going to do. We didn't know where we were going to live. But on top of that, we'd now got 7 projects in India that business had been funding. So where was the money going to come from to run those projects? We needed our priorities to shift, and they certainly had to, because we have about 400 children in our care in India, and so we had to find another way of providing the funding for those projects. So that's when Dalit Goods was born. That's when we started the company. And it came about, we were at a big conference, and I'll show you in a moment the cup that was the inspiration. But just at this point, there's a little box around. There are some little boxes scattered around, and within those boxes are just a little free sample for you, a free gift, little clay cup. And it's very significant and symbolic of the oppression, really, of the Dalit people in India. You know, just going back a minute, when we fail in the UK, fail is a bad 4-letter word. It's something apparently to be ashamed of. It's something that we hide behind. So most people wouldn't like to stand up and say, I lost my house, I made a mistake, I went too far into debt, I failed. But it didn't just stop there. You know, when you fail, sometimes people draw a line in the sand and they ignore everything that they've learned or everything that they've done before that failure. But it's not true. You learn an awful lot through that process of failing. You know, we learned a lot about best business practice whilst we were running our business that failed in the end. So it's not a thing to be ashamed of. You know, the phoenix rises out of the ashes, really, and I hope that Dalit Goods is such a phoenix. It certainly feels like it. You know, we are able now to run a business that we're driven by passion to do. I don't think I'd be in Birmingham for 5 days or 4 days, however long it is, if I wasn't passionate about what we do, because I'd rather be at home, to be honest. So passion drives you when you know that there's somebody depending on you, and when you know that you've got something brilliant that you want to share with other people. So we needed a name, and we decided on Dalit. And that's a bit of a strange choice, because Dalit in India refers to the outcasts. It refers to the people who, according to the caste system 3,000 years ago that was introduced into India, it refers to those people as outside the caste system, not worth anything, no privileges, no rights, and there's 250 million of them. And of course, they're the poorest of the poor. They're the children like these children who live on the streets. One of those children came to live with us. His mum had been a prostitute. She was living on the streets. She was a Dalit woman. She died of HIV. We found that little boy on the streets, and, you know, via the correct channels and authorities, he then came and lived with us, and his life's been redeemed and changed. So anyway, back to Dalit. It seems a bit strange using a word that's associated with downtrodden and oppressed and you know, to be kept away from. But we chose that in order to turn the attitude towards the word upside down. We wanted it to be a positive thing. And believe me, as we roll our product out to the new retailers, 200 or so retailers that we have in this country, and then the retailers that we have abroad, because we do export, as we roll our product out, the word Dalit is going across the world, really, literally, actually. And hopefully, it'll change attitude, because you never change anything overnight. It takes a long time. Anyway, that's not meant to be what I'm talking about, changing attitude. But the Dalits are, as I say, downtrodden and oppressed. I'm going the wrong way. Let's see. Oh, that's just one more picture of the children. That was when we bought them new clothes, when my nephew bought them new clothes. This gentleman is a Dalit potter. And I see depth and I see integrity in the eyes of these people. And I have come to love this group of people, and I want to help to make a difference to them. Now, to the cup. The little clay cup that you have has traditionally, it represents the cup that they traditionally were compelled to drink from. There's a clay cup, and if you've been to India, and I don't know how many people have, but if you've been to India, often on the side of the road in the gutters will be smashed clay cups. And those were the cups that the Dalit people traditionally drank from. And one of the reasons behind them drinking from these cups and then smashing them to the ground is to prove to somebody from a higher social class or caste that they're not going to be contaminated by drinking from the same cup. So we took that symbol of what I consider to be a symbol of oppression, and we've changed it round. And with that design input from our friend, we've changed it into a positive and beautiful product, which you can hardly see on there, but never mind. This is a Dalit lady, just sitting, resting on the edge of the road. And I love this. I love this because she's that old and she can get down on the curb and get back up again without needing a stick. I don't think I could get down on there and get back up again without needing a stick. But there's a certain, need drives you, doesn't it? And if she has to get her food from the field, she'll be used to bending down and just be so much more... flexible. Malleable was what I was going to say. So this slide tells a different picture. I don't know if you can see it, but this is the reality. 4 children sitting in an old tin bath. My husband met them when he was in Delhi. He travels a lot to India, and he went up to find out why they were sitting in a tin bath. And not very far away from them was their mum. And she was a Dalit mum. No money for these children to go to school, but her way of making money, thankfully, wasn't in the sex trade, although that often is the case. They're trafficked into jobs that they don't really want to do. But her way of making an income, scratching a living, was by scavenging through the rubbish tips of Delhi and collecting plastic bags. And then she would sell the plastic bags, and then they would be recycled. But what hit us was that these children couldn't go to school. Most our kids take education for granted, but you take education for granted. I bet you're loving having a day off today. But most children, if they could be educated, they'd be thrilled and delighted, which is why that's one of our primary functions in Life Association. This little boy also tells a slightly worrying story. He must be about 4 or 5, and he's on his own, and he's asleep. And we don't know what he's had to do to get through that day, or what he's going to have to do to get through the next day. But I'll lay pound to a penny that it's not something that you'd want any of your children or grandchildren to be doing. And we want to make a difference to people like him. And that's what we're about. We're trying to make a difference. And the profits from the sale of our product, and it says it on the side of the box, go into running our projects in India. So let me get to the business bit. That's my story. Do you know what? There's a wonderful bit of the story, though. I said, and I hadn't planned to say this, but I said that we lost our home, and we did lose our home. We had to sell it, and a wonderful man bought our house, and it was sold for a lot of money. He bought it, but he wasn't really ready to move. And so he bought it, and he asked us to stay in it and rent and live in it. And when we asked him how much money he wanted to live in it, bearing in mind it was a 6-bedroomed farmhouse in Derbyshire in 12 acres of land, and all the money went to the bank, he said, well, just a token amount of money. And my husband said to him, so we don't figure that money's too important to you, because he's a lovely, gentle man. He's a solicitor. And not all solicitors are gentle gentlemen, but anyway, he was. And he said, what, do you mean like you want to pay like a token rent? And Simon said, yeah, that'd be great. Simon's my husband. He said, 50 to 100 pounds a month. What do you think about that? And so my husband said, yeah, 50 quid a month. So we stayed in that house for 5 years after the time which it was sold, whilst we were going through the restructuring of our lives, really. And we paid 50 quid a month. We've only just moved out, and we've moved into a beautiful rented place. So that's just a little bit more of a personal aside. I want to talk about non-negotiable factors when setting up a business from my eyes. You know, we didn't start with a business strategy. We didn't even start with a blueprint. We just started with a passion and with a need. And we needed a business that would support us in what we wanted to do, rather than the trap that we so easily get into, which is support, you know, your life becomes the business rather than your business becoming the thing that helps you to live your life. Do you understand the difference? And we needed the freedom. After so many years in business, we were willing to make some sacrifices. That was fine. We were willing to simplify our lives, but what we wanted to do was do something that meant something instead of selling belts to fashion labels. You know, we'd had enough of doing that. So yes, we needed, when we were setting this business up, to have a business that we could be in control of. But we also needed it to support us as a couple. We didn't want to be a drain on our charity. I know there's all sorts of criticism of the administrative charges that charities have, you know, within their figures. Don't criticise them, because it costs an awful lot to do what they do. But I am proud to say we don't have any admin charges, because we support ourselves by selling that product, Dalit Goods. So yes, we wanted the business as well to be our vehicle to share our message. So that's what we've been able to do as well. And we wanted the business to trade ethically. We wanted not to be using sweatshops, and we wanted not to be exploiting our producers. If you're going to import from, sorry, madam, she's asleep. If you want to import from a country that has great need, be very careful about the producers that you're going to and who you're going to do business with. You know, we didn't want to be screwing people down for the best price possible. So we've been able to source wonderful producers. And these ladies, they're not our contact, but we met them when we were sourcing cardamom, because we also sell spices. And we were lucky enough to go to Kerala. And these ladies with their beautiful faces were sifting. It was very interesting. They were sifting cardamom seeds, pods, and getting the old husks off them just to reveal the fresh husks of the cardamom. I get lost in the pictures sometimes. Shame you can't see it. So yeah, it was important. It was and it is important for us to maintain the highest ethical credentials that we can. And we needed to be able to do what we wanted with the profit from our business. I don't understand what not-for-profit means, because what's the point in doing it if you're not trying to make a profit? I mean, literally, you have to be making a profit or else you're not doing it. So the profit that we make goes into our business. But most of all, the product has to have a purpose. And our product, I believe, and this is like a commercial now, but it is, you know, stand out good. People come by, they see it, they love it, they want to know the story, and it's an honour to be able to share that story with people. It's unique. There's nobody else doing what we do. There might be people doing similar things, but if you're thinking of launching a product onto an international market or within the UK market, make sure it's not just the same as everybody else, because you've got to have a unique selling point. It's got to be different, it's got to be special, and it's got to be something that you believe in. So pretty much that's all I've got to say.